What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Stay Fresh exclusive. Today I'm finally bringing you what you've all been waiting for. Maybe not all of you, but a lot of you have been asking me about this, when I'm going to bring you my Parfums de Marly Harried full review. Today is that day. I've had a wonderful time testing out this fragrance, and I'm really happy to bring you guys my final thoughts. I took some very extensive notes while testing this, smelling this, and I've decided to take somewhat of a different approach to my review. Rather than just tell you about what it smells like and when to wear it and what I think of it, I'm going to do all of that, but I'm going to do it in the form of a comparative analysis. In my first impression video of this fragrance, if you missed that, it'll be right here. I compared this to two fragrances right off the bat. One, Dolce & Gabbana's The One, for starters. And secondly, I compared it to Spice Bomb by Viktor & Rolf. I don't have a bottle of Spice Bomb, but I do have a sample of Spice Bomb Extreme, which is essentially the same fragrance, so we'll make it work. First, I want to send a big thank you, actually, and a shout out to Ashton from Gents Scents. Check out his channel. Link will be in the description. He actually has a side business where he decants his fragrances. So I actually purchased this from him a while back. We didn't know each other at the time, but he actually reached out to me later and said, "Hey man, I think you bought Harried from me," after he saw my first impression video. So that was pretty funny. The world got smaller that day. Now, let's dive right into this review. Comparing Parfums de Marly Harried to Spice Bomb Extreme. First of all, upon initial spray, they have a very similar vibe. Spice Bomb Extreme comes off very sweet and very spicy right up top, while Harried is also sweet but is definitely smoother and nowhere near as spicy or aggressive as Spice Bomb Extreme. Now, as this initial blast kind of dissipates, Spice Bomb Extreme definitely reveals itself to be a little bit fresh. I think there's lavender actually in there. There's not a whole lot of notes to Spice Bomb Extreme. Harried kind of remains a little bit warmer. Definitely comes off as a more warm and inviting fragrance right from the get-go. Now, the main accords that I get out of Spice Bomb Extreme are cinnamon, even though there's technically no cinnamon in this fragrance, but I think the mix of the black pepper and the caraway and the tobacco kind of create this cinnamon vibe. There's also vanilla in this fragrance. So not long after this spicy bomb comes up from the top, the vanilla kind of comes in to calm things down and makes it a little bit smoother going into the heart of the fragrance. Now, Harried actually has cinnamon in the fragrance. That's at one of the top accords. And that's one of the notes in the opening of the fragrance, along with, I think, the black pepper. Now, because Harried's cinnamon note is actually cinnamon, it actually comes off as cinnamon itself rather than a representation of cinnamon like it is in Spice Bomb Extreme. Now, to get into the main accords of both of these fragrances that link them together, that is the tobacco accord here. And they differ quite a bit. In Harried, the tobacco accord is so smooth. That's something that I noticed when I first sprayed this thing a month ago. This tobacco is it's kind of in the foundation of the fragrance the entire way through. It sits at the bottom of the opening of the fragrance and at the heart and at the base. It's always there, but it's never right in front of you. Now, this compares to the tobacco accord in both Spice Bomb Extreme and in Dolce & Gabbana's The One, in which it's a little bit dirtier, a little bit harsher and more aggressive, but in no way off-putting. It's just different. Now, in Spice Bomb Extreme, like I said, the vanilla note definitely calms down the spiciness pretty quickly as we get into the heart of the fragrance. Now, I find it amazing in Harried how this vanilla note is battling both black pepper and cinnamon, which are both spices and which are both very spicy substances. But somehow, it keeps them tame. It doesn't allow them to get out of control and make this thing a spice bomb like Spice Bomb Extreme. It's so smooth, and I don't know how they did it. The perfume of Harried is Olivier Perchot, and I'm not totally familiar with all of his work, but I can tell you that he did a phenomenal job with the blend of this fragrance. And we'll get back to that in a second. Now, the foundation of Harrod's sweetness is most definitely the cinnamon. You can detect that throughout the entire fragrance. Where there's sweetness, it's cinnamon. Obviously with some vanilla in there too. Now you get a tiny minuscule bit of freshness in Harrod, which comes from vetiver in the base, I would imagine. Although you don't really detect the note of vetiver, you just get that fresh vibe. It's slightly earthy, a little bit herbal, but it's barely there. You really have to kind of dig for it. Now overall, when comparing Spice Bomb Extreme to Harrod, it is clear that Harrod is a niche fragrance. Quality of these ingredients and their blend is so well done. It's actually really difficult to distinguish all of these individual notes outside of the main accords, like the cinnamon and the tobacco and the sweetness from vanilla. There's other notes in the heart that I don't really pick up, like osmanthus, labdanum, and the incense. I get a slight vibe of incense, but I don't really get the scent of that. I also don't even quite get the woods in the base. Apparently there's cedar wood in the base. I don't really get that throughout the fragrance. The only other presence I can detect in the base is probably the muskiness, and towards the end of the life of the fragrance, that makes itself much more apparent. Now, in terms of performance, I found that Parfums de Marly Harrod lasts at least 12 hours on my skin, and it projects decently for probably up to the first 3 hours, I would say. I was hoping for a little bit more than that, but it was actually kind of okay. Although after about 8 hours of those 12 plus, it basically is a skin scent for those last few hours or so. I didn't have to totally dig my nose into my arm to smell it. I could probably smell it from about that far away, even after about 8 hours, which is not bad, but at the very least, I was hoping for a minimum of 4 hours of good projection on this thing. I did find that it stays on my skin quite a while. Obviously it stops projecting, but I found that the next morning after wearing this fragrance, each time when I would get in the shower, before I'd get in the shower, I wouldn't really detect it around me at all. But as soon as I step into the hot water and my skin begins to heat up, all of a sudden I can smell it around me. And this is like at least 20 hours later. So this stuff really sticks around on your skin. Now, for the issue of where to wear this fragrance. I'd say you can wear it in just about any situation in the cooler or cold season. I would stay away from wearing this in the warmer weather. Maybe in the early spring, but warm weather and this genre of fragrance just do not mix at all. I would say that you can wear this both casually and formally if you want to. Like I said, in all situations, but I think it shines in more upscale social settings, so keep that in mind. So now, my final ratings for this fragrance. We have a rating system now. Yay! Just to keep things clear and give you guys some very definitive and concrete data on what I think of this fragrance. Now, the scent of this fragrance, I give it a 10 out of 10. It is such a beautiful scent. It is so well blended. The ingredients are such high quality. So that's a no-brainer. 10 out of 10, perfect scent. For the performance, I give this a 9 out of 10, only because I was hoping for a little bit more projection for more than about 3 hours or so. If it was more than that, it would have been perfect. Would have got a perfect 10 out of 10, but 9 ain't so bad either. Now, in terms of compliments on this fragrance, I would have to say it's not applicable. I didn't receive any compliments on this fragrance while wearing it. The way that I'm going to do things on my channel, if I don't receive any compliments, then that category is basically not applied to the final rating of this fragrance. Getting positive compliments improves the rating of the compliment factor. Getting negative compliments will impede that rating. So if I got nothing there, it's not applicable right now. Now, the value of this fragrance, I give it a 10 out of 10. If you're looking at the concentration and the power of the fragrance versus how much it costs to buy and how much of it you can actually get, you can find both 2.5 ounce bottles and 4.2 ounce bottles for less than $200 on various retailers online. And again, because it is a fairly stronger fragrance, you don't need to spray much of it, so you're gonna have the bottle for a while. So for that, I give it a good 10 out of 10 value. Now the overall score, I give this a 9 out of 10. That is the average of the versatility factor, the scent, the performance, and the value. I excluded the compliment factor from the average because again, it wasn't applicable this time. But I give it an overall 9 out of 10. So would I recommend buying this fragrance, going out and buying a bottle? No, I wouldn't. I would try it first. I would say that with just about any fragrance, get a sample first. Maybe talk to Ashton. He can get you one for a good price. Especially a fragrance that's going to be over $100, I really would not recommend blind buying that if you've never smelled it. That's just me. If you have money just exploding out of your wallet and your bank account and you just have to spend it somewhere, then I will not be the one to advise you on blind buying or not blind buying a bottle that is that expensive. But I highly recommend smelling this thing. I can guarantee you that you will enjoy it, and then from there you can make a decision. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been another Stay Fresh exclusive. I got a lot more exciting content coming up. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. Peace. See you guys in the next one.